Vanakkam. Hello friends. We have seen about the religious ideology of the Kalabhra rulers and how they were tolerant towards all faiths. While they patronized the Vaidiha religions, they were only against certain practices like the Brahmadeyam, arbitrary land gifts made by kings to the priesthood. In this episode, we will see about the contribution of the Kalabhras to Tamil language and literature. Now, both Jainism and Buddhism came into the Tamil country way before the rule of the Kalabhras that began in the 3rd century Common Era. Under their patronage, both these heretic faiths spread their roots deep across Tamilagam. This was a crucial factor that ensured the survival of these heretic faiths long after the end of the rule of the Kalabhras, withstanding the onslaught of the Bhakti movement. A third sect of these heretic faiths that had an equally strong presence in ancient Tamilagam was Ajivagam. Its founder, Markali Kosar, was a contemporary of Buddha and the Mahavira. Well, we cannot go into it in detail here, but all the three Shramanic faiths flourished during the Kalabhra rule. The Sanghas spread the religion far and wide in a systematic manner over a period of time. While Kanjipuram and Nagapattinam became strong centers of Buddhism, Padaliputra, that is today's Kadalur, and Madurai were strong centers of Jainism. Vajranandi, a Jain monk, established the Dramala Sangha in Madurai in 470 Common Era during the Kalabhra rule. The very term Dramila, being a take on Tamil and Dravida together, showed that it was established in the deep south. Known as the Samanar Palli in Tamil, these were the centers from where the Jaina monks disseminated knowledge. They were engaged not only in preaching their philosophy, but also in providing value education, serving the needy, and creating literary works. The usage of the term Palli in Tamil for a school, a place of learning, the association continues till this day. As opposed to earlier views that the Kalabhras did not patronize Tamil, the inscriptional evidences during their reign proved otherwise. Well, their mother tongue being an early form of Kannada, their official languages were Pali and Prakrit. These were also the languages of the heretic faiths. We have seen in great detail about the Pulanguruchi inscription in previous episodes. Written in pure and simple Tamil, the style of this inscription influenced Tamil inscriptions that came later. Unlike the inscriptions of the medieval Pandyas like the Velvikudi plates that had one portion in Tamil and another portion in Sanskrit, the inscriptions of the Kalabhra rulers were only in Tamil, showing that they had totally adopted the local language. Inscriptions from the beginning of the Kalabhra rule capture an important evolution in the Tamil script from the Brahmi or Tamili to Vatteluthu. Vatteluthu was a logical improvement on the early Tamil script to suit the writing media of the stylus and the palm leaf. It started appearing at the end of the Sangam period. By adopting it for their inscriptions, the Kalabhras helped in popularizing its usage, records Dr. Padmavati in her book Pudiya Nokil Kalabhrar Varalaru, The History of the Kalabhras from a New Perspective, published in the year 2023. She shows several inscriptions of the Kalabhras in Vatteluthu, such as the Tirunadar Kundru Kalvettu, all belonging to the 5th and 6th centuries. Where the Vatteluthu starts to appear, the Tamil Brahmi disappears. She also shows, more importantly, hero stones from the Dharmaburi regions created during the Kalabhra period that are in Vatteluthu. Mailai Sini Vengadasamy in his book Kalabhra Raatchiyil Tamilagam shows how during the rule of the Kalabhras, words from Pali and Prakrit entered the Tamil vocabulary through Buddhism and Jainism. They remain in usage today without us realizing their origin. If we were to see a few examples, Vanna meaning Niram in Tamil and color in English becomes Vannam in Tamil and in Sanskrit it is Varnam. Lakkana meaning Kuri or target becomes ilakku in Tamil and goes into Sanskrit as lakshana. Dhamma, meaning aram or virtue, goes into Tamil as dhammam and into Sanskrit as dharmam. Satta for voli or sound becomes sattam in Tamil and in Sanskrit becomes sabdam. Now the reverse is also true, where words from Tamil went into Pali and Prakrit, and a number of such words have been enlisted by linguists. If we were to just see a few, Parka, meaning seeing in Tamil, becomes Paka and becomes Apeka in Pali. Poosidu, meaning to smear, which is also known as Appidu in Tamil, becomes Appita in Pali. Aham, meaning a small house, becomes Agga in Pali, and Kalimbu, meaning an ointment, becomes Akalu in Pali. Now, the Jaina and Buddhist monks who migrated into Tamil country mastered the language. Though it was to help in their proselytization, they ended up immensely contributing to the enrichment of Tamil language and literature, especially under the patronage of the Kalabhras rulers. This could be compared to how the likes of Robert Caldwell and Father Beschi, foreign missionaries who initially learnt Tamil to spread Christianity but ended up falling in love with the language, making immense valuable contribution to Mother Tamil. The flourishing heretic faiths brought in new styles of poetry and new meters from their literature into the Tamil language. The 4 meters defined by Tolgapiyar in his Seyyuriyal are Venba, Asriyappa, Kalippa and Vanjipa. These meters that were extensively used in the Sangam literature give way to new meters, Pudiya Pavina Vagaigal, known as the Thurai, Viruttam and Tharisai. Explaining them, of course, is way beyond our scope here. Thus, the Dramida Sangha, founded in Madurai in 470 Common Era for propagating Jainism, also patronized Tamil literary activities. Mailai Sini Venkadasamy shows how the term Ganam was another word for the Sangha and how there were 4 branches of the Sangha: the Nandi Ganam, Sena Ganam, Simma Ganam and Deva Ganam, with sub-branches called Anvayam. The Nandi Ganam was the most prominent, and Vajranandi founded his Sangha under its banner. The association of the name Nandi with the Kalabhras rulers comes from the fact that they migrated from near the Nandi hills in the Kolar regions of Mysore, Karnataka, points out Venkadasamy. He also shows how the Nandi hills were known as the Kalabhras Hills in a Kannada inscription, and quotes a couple of lines from old Tamil poems: Nandi Malvarai Silambu Nandi, Pugalthurai Nirainda Peruvel Nandi. That the Sanghas nurtured Tamil literature can be inferred from the copious volumes of ethical literature that were composed by these heretic monks immediately after the Sangam period. These works include the Tirukkural, the Naladiyar, Nanmanikadigai, Sirupanjamulam, Yeladi, Iniyavai Narpadu and Inna Narpadu, all composed after the 3rd century Common Era, by whom? Jaina monks, during whose rule the Kalabhras ruled. Sini Venkadasamy has written 2 excellent books, Bauthamum Tamilum in 1940 and Samanamum Tamilum, in which he explains how the very concept of Aham and Puram, meaning internal and external, in the Sangam works, with Aham denoting the love life between a hero and heroine, and Puram denoting war and victory of a king, takes a paradigm shift in the post-Sangam ethical literature of these heretic faiths in keeping with their core philosophy. So, under the influence of Buddhism and Jainism, Puram stressed internal victory over oneself rather than external victory won in a battlefield. True victory was victory over the self. Similarly, Agam was about overcoming Kamam, Vehuri and Mayakam, namely lust, anger and delusions. For that matter, both these faiths glorified renunciation, that is Turavaram, over household life, that is Illaram. The Dramida Sangha that nurtured such ethical literature seems to have inspired the elaborate story of the Muchangam, the 3 literary academies, which were propagated in the 7th century in the court of the medieval Pandyas immediately after the fall of the Kalabhras, obviously created to project the early Pandyas who ruled before the Kalabhras as great patrons of Tamil. Interestingly, a line in the Dalavaipuram copper plates created by the Pandya king Parantaka Veera Narayanan that we saw in detail in the previous episode has a line that goes, பருத்த மீன்கள் வானத்தில் உள்ள விண்மீன்களோடு போர் தொடுப்பது போல. The ocean waves rose so high that it appeared that the huge fishes in the waters went to war with the fishes in the sky, the windmean. Though an exaggerated imagination, the giant waves indicated here was most possibly a tsunami, and there is a hyperbole that goes that the valiant Pandya kings stopped the tsunami. Of the 25 copper plates of the Pandyas deciphered and published so far, the Ilayanputtur copper plates are the oldest. The plates were issued by the Pandya king Arikesari Maravarman in 676 Common Era, and they mention an Ari Peralai, a mammoth wave or a tsunami. Incidentally, Ilayanputtur is a village near Kanyakumari between Kalugumalai and Kayatharu in Thoothukudi district, not far from where giant waves swallowed Dhanushkodi in 1964. Now, the mythical story of the Muchangam that came into vogue during the 7th century obviously took inspiration from a real deluge that was recorded in the Ilayanputtur copper plates, combining it with the idea of a literary sangha, conveniently inventing names of poets and works of literature belonging to two first sangams that were lost to the seas. Now, I have dealt with this in detail in a much earlier episode titled The Myth of the Sangams, and I will leave the relevant link here. We have seen about the twin epics of Silappadiharam and Manimehilai that were composed during the Kalabhra rule. Now, these works were part of the Aimperum Kappiyam or 5 great epics, the other 3 being Valayabadi, Kundalakesi and Jeevaha Sindhamani. All the 5 works belong to the heretic faiths. While Valayabadi is a 9th century Jaina work by an unknown author, Kundalakesi follows in the 10th century. Composed by Nada Kuttanar, only parts of it have come down to us. Here, the heroine Kundalakesi kills her husband who is trying to murder her and then becomes a Buddhist monk and spreads the Buddhist philosophy. Jeevaha Sindhamani, composed by a Jaina monk Tirthakadevar, is a highly acclaimed epic of 3000 plus poems. Though it is considered to be composed in the 10th century, Mailai Sini Venkadasamy is of the opinion that it was composed in the 6th century during the Kalabhra rule. The popularity of this great epic in the Chola country is what prompted Sekira to compose his Periya Puranam, the Saivite hagiography of the 63 saints, in the 12th century. Now, the threefold life rule of Aram, Porul, Inbam, roughly translated as virtuosity, material wealth and pleasure, is codified in the Tolgapiyam and is referred to in many a Sangam poem. The 4th element, Veedu or Moksha or Nirvana as the heretic faiths may call it, is not explained explicitly but is inferred as the end purpose. Now, following the Aimperum Kappiyam come the 5 smaller epics known as Ainchiru Kappiyam. By very definition, they could be termed as lesser epics. What makes them lesser is the fact that one or more of the 4 cardinal rules of Aram, Porul, Inbam, Veedu are left out in these works. Udayana Kumara Kaviyam, Naha Kumara Kaviyam, Yasodhara Kaviyam, Suramani and Neelakesi, again all professing heretic faiths. Suramani by Vardhamana Devar, a Jain monk, was composed during the 9th century in the court of Avani Suramani Maravarman, the Pandya king. Incidentally, this epic finds mentioned in inscription at Shravana Belagola. Neelakesi follows in the 10th century. Composed by an unknown Jain monk, it was composed to counter the popularity of the Buddhist epic Kundalakesi. Again, Yasodhara Kavyam, authored by an unknown Buddha Bhikshu, comes in the 13th century. Interestingly, Udayana Kumara Kavyam in the 15th century and Naha Kumara Kavyam in the 16th century were both composed by women Jaina monks whose names are not known to us. The strong foundation laid in 300 years of Kalabhras rule was instrumental in propelling this continuous flourishing tradition of heretic literary works. We have seen how Buddhism and Jainism flourished for many centuries after the fall of the Kalabhras. We have also seen how the Kalabhras themselves did not disappear completely but ruled from smaller provinces. They may have continued patronizing literary works that professed the ethics and values of the heretic faiths. C.N. Venkadasamy mentions the many Jaina works that have been lost to us over time. We know that these works existed by the references that are found in later works of literature. Nari Viritham, Yeli Viritham, and Kili Viritham were popular literary works by Jaina monks. While Nari Viritham is mentioned by Thirunavukarasar in one of his hymns, Yeli Viritham and Kili Viritham find a mention in the hymns of Thirunyana Sambandar. Coming as these saint poets did in the 7th century Common Era, these works then were definitely composed during Kalabhras rule. Again, all three works are mentioned by name in a much later work of grammar known as Veerasolyam, composed in the 11th century under Chola patronage by one Buddhamitirar, a Buddhist monk. Mailai C.N. Venkadasamy records the huge contribution made by Buddhist and Jaina monks in creating new works of grammar necessitated by the new types of meters, that is the pa vagaigal, that were introduced into Tamil literature by them. Yapilakkanam gives the rules for poetry composition and he quotes several works such as Avinayam, Kakai Padiniyam and Nattattam, the most important of these being Yaparungalam and Yaparunkalakkarige, both composed by a Jaina monk Amritasagarar in the 10th century. Amritasagarar was born in the Pandya country and then is shown as going and living in Tondainadu. In the 12th century comes the Nannul, another great work of Tamil grammar by a Jaina monk Pavanandi Munivar. Tamil scholars follow these post-Tolkappiyam works of grammar to this day as a gold standard for poetic grammar. A 10th century Saivite literature known as Kalladam has a few lines that capture the Kalabhras. Padai Nangudan Panjavar Turandu, Madurai Vavviya Karunadar Vendan, Aruhar Sarndu Nindru, Aran Pani Adaipa goes the lines. The Pandavas with their fourfold army were defeated by the Karunadaga Vendar, that is the Kalabhras, who came and captured Madurai. Because they were of Jaina lineage, Aran Pani Adaipa, they stopped worshipping practices in the Shivan temples, goes the line. So while the Pulanguruchi inscriptions and later copperplate inscriptions show otherwise, the claim made in Kalladam that the Kalabhras were enemies of Saivism seems to have caught on and probably influenced stories such as that of Murthy Nayanar in the Periya Puranam. So how much of historical truth is there behind this narrative is very questionable. Nihandu in Tamil means a dictionary, and some of the first dictionaries for Tamil language were also contributed by Jaina monks. Divagara Nihandu, believed to be composed in the 6th century by a Divagara Munivar under the patronage of a King Sendan, is the earliest known dictionary for the Tamil language. Though there were several arguments as to the authorship, the religious lineage of the author, as well as the time period of the composition, we have seen how the names Kochendan Kutruvan and Kutruvan Sendan, denoting Kalabhra kings, are found in the Pulanguruchi inscriptions. This name Sendan was later adapted by the Pandya rulers. The Pingala Nihandu follows in the 10th century Common Era, composed by one Pingala Munivar, a Jaina monk, who was believed to be a student of Divagara Munivar. We will continue seeing the contribution of the Kalabhras not only to Tamil literature but also to art and architecture in the next episode. Vanakkam.